Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. This is the Deontay Wilder and Bermane Stiverne post-fight review. So WBC champion Deontay Wilder, he has kept his win streak alive with a crushing first-round knockout victory over mandated challenger Bermane Stiverne at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Wow, this was a stunning performance. In this video, I'll cover off the brief fight because it only was one round, the possible what's next, also Dominic Breazeale's win over Eric Molina, and that the WBC president has confirmed Breazeale is not confirmed as Wilder's next mandatory challenger. More on that in a moment. But to the action, and it was brief, it was over fast. Wow. The first round, though, it started cautious and cagey for about the first minute and a half or 2 minutes. Wilder was feeling out Stiverne, and, Stiverne similar. So Wilder was finding his range, and then with about a minute to go, Deontay Wilder, the bronze bomber, he exploded into action. The first knockout was a 1-2 combo which floored Stiverne, and he didn't necessarily look terribly buzzed from this, and he looked disappointed with himself that he'd hit the deck. He got up though, and Wilder was relentless. Wilder laid in on him again, and same thing. This time, Stiverne though, he looked hurt, and Wilder knew it. And with about under 15 seconds to go in the round, it might have been 10 seconds or so, Wilder charged him, went in for the kill, and he folded Stiverne up into a crumpled heap. Stiverne was sent into next week, and that was all she wrote. The fight was over. I'll say it again. Wow. So Deontay Wilder sends a proper statement, a proper message to the rest of the division. I'm sure his stock has just gone up with some fans. It's probably gone through the roof with his own fans. Deontay Wilder extends his record to 39-0. Impressive, impressive win. Question is, though, what's next? And that is a tough one. So while the obvious answer might be unification with Anthony Joshua, Eddie Hearn has made it clear that that fight is not likely happening until at least the middle of next year, because Eddie Hearn wants to have the fight at Wembley in the summertime so they can sell 90,000 tickets, make it a massively lucrative event. Theoretically, Wilder could sit on the shelf for the next 7 or 8 months until that fight happens. But there's a couple of snags with that though. No deal has been reached, no deal is in place. And we know Eddie Hearn wants Deontay Wilder to go through his fight at Dillian Whyte in February before meeting Joshua mid-year. But Deontay Wilder does not want that fight with Whyte unless $7 million is on the table. So things might actually get to an impasse pretty quickly at the negotiating table. I mean, even if Whyte is taken out of the equation, 7 to 8 months in activity before a Joshua fight, that's a fair chunk of time. He may need part of that time to rehab any injuries on his, say for his hand. I mean, he was hitting Stiverne hard, but I guess at least it only went around, so hopefully he's come through this fight and he's not carrying any injuries, especially to that right hand. But one fight in between now and a Joshua unification fight, say mid next year, it would make a lot of sense. I'm sure his hardcore fans would want to see him active as well. I guess the problem is, though, Wilder is in a bind. He's 39 fights deep and nothing much on the record to write home about. This win, though, over Bermane Stiverne, plus the first one, that is the best on his record. And I would say this win today is the most explosive. It was just incredible. So some of his other championship wins, well, they were okay, but that's all. The names weren't the greatest. They were just okay. And that's his problem now. If he takes a fight ahead of an AJ payday against someone fans consider a modest opponent, the knives will be out. You know they will. It's just a reality. Luis Ortiz, he was in the building tonight watching Wilder, and the WBC has not banned Ortiz for his failed recent drug test. Remember, he was meant to be Deontay Wilder's opponent tonight. So rather though, apparently he's on some sort of medical suspension related to the blood pressure medicine he was taking. Well, apparently, because the WBC has never really made it that clear what the actual situation is there. It's been Team Ortiz, who has a vested interest. They've been busy trying to write a narrative for the fans and the media to eat up. So some more water to go under the bridge with whatever's happening there. So it's a potential that an Ortiz fight, could be made for early next year. We will have to see. fighting and beating someone like Ortiz, of the caliber of Ortiz, it would be great for Wilder's profile. It would reduce the amount of noise about his record, and it would generate more buzz to turn a fight with Anthony Joshua into an even bigger spectacle. It'd be huge right now, but it can be even bigger. Beyond Ortiz, there are names like Alexander Povetkin, a unification fight with Joseph Parker, Kubrat Pulev, one or two others, but beyond that, the pickings are slim in terms of a fight Wilder could get credit and respect for. Certainly his reputation, I'm sure after that performance against Bermane Stiverne, he will be even more feared by some people. So I don't know if some people will want to jump in the ring with a Deontay Wilder in that sort of form. Second-tier opponents, though, they're not really an option right now, and it's kind of big fights or bust, really. I mean, even Wilder himself has said that much publicly. He wants the big fights. So if he can't land a top fight for early 2018, I see him holding out for a possible unification fight later in the year. And it looks like his next mandatory challenger won't be known for a little while yet either, with the WBC president Mauricio Suleiman confirming the Dominic Breazeale-Eric Molina fight was not a final eliminator. So that's at odds with what the WBC itself had been saying on its own website. But they have quietly updated their website in the day before the fight, and that was something that I did catch and I did report on in a video. I'll make sure you can link to that one at the end of this one if you are interested. So there will be at least one more fight before we know who Deontay Wilder's mandatory challenger is. That buys time and keeps Wilder's options open. Something good may present itself in the meantime, but I guess we will have to watch this space. And just quickly, Dominic Breazeale, he defeated Eric Molina on the Wilder-Stiverne undercard, forcing Molina to retire after the 8th round, in which he was dropped. So Molina, he took some punishment and he just could not come back out. The towel was thrown in. Wasn't a great fight, a little bit boring to be honest, but there was some good action in the 5th round, but apart from that, not really enough for me to justify doing a post-fight review on that one by itself. I'm sure the nature of the win, it wouldn't have been top of mind for Breazeale in the ring as he was in the moment of the fight. But had it been a stunning knockout, I'm sure there would have been a developing or a growing buzz for him to face Deontay Wilder in what would sort of pit them in a bit of a grudge match, given there is a little bit of history from earlier this year with an altercation between Breazeale and Wilder's brother in the hotel after Wilder's win over Washington. But he won't be the mandatory challenger. Not yet. But he could be eventually. So we'll have to see actually if Dominic Breazeale is pitted against Dillian Whyte in a final eliminator. But given the mixed messages coming out from the WBC over Breazeale's fight being a final eliminator, then saying it was not, I'm not holding my breath for any clarity just yet. I mean, even Don King had been saying that the fight was a final eliminator. Anyway, we'll just see where that goes. But Deontay Wilder, wow, that was a glorious performance. He really sort of put Stiverne's face into the mat. Stiverne he didn't know where he was by the end of that. First knockdown, it didn't look like it hurt him. Second one, he was definitely hurt. And the third one, well, that just put him into next week. Deontay Wilder moves on, 39-0, blows Stiverne into next week, and he moves on. And certainly myself, I was really excited after that fight. I thought that was the sort of performance we wanted to see. What do you make of it? Drop a comment, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.